Hi, my name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandon Croucher, and this is the next episode of The H, an honest conversation about health, hemp, and happiness, and we are so glad you are here. I am sitting with the one, the only, the most handsome guy in the room right this second, Mr. Fuck Joe. That's all you give me is... That was entertaining. I couldn't hear a word you just said, and I let you just keep going. Yeah, really. Yeah. So Joe, how's your day been? You jerk.
I needed to laugh. Did I play it right? I played up good?
You did, because your face was like, for real? And I'm like, oh, that was
crazy
funny.
People are good at talking to themselves, so it was real easy. You know, I just had a conversation with myself real quick to make it look a lot better.
You were talking to yourself. You're like, my name's Joe.
Just working it out.
Just working it out. Oh, that was funny. You definitely got me off guard on that one. I literally was
I was going to do the freeze, but I'm like, that one's too easy, and he'll get that. So I was like, I'm going to hit him with the you can't hear me, and I'm actually not saying anything.
That's funny. That is funny. Joe, how are you, my friend? You've had a long week. You've had teeth pulled. You've had dental work.
Thankfully.
You've had... Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Not pulled, but straight out. Like you had some work done this week. You've been hurting.
Yeah, I mean, I had a root canal and I had to get a filling. But the pain leading up to it was not really a good time. More of like a mental thing, having a headache almost all day and then not sleeping. So that was a little rough. But now that's fixed. Like today was fantastic. I only had like a 10-minute headache when I woke up. Felt really normal. Had a lot more energy. I mean, it's kind of diving down now. Just catching up on sleep from a week of like nothing. But overall, I'm really thankful. Go back Friday to get the last part before we go to Vegas. And then I'm really excited. I'm doing this too on air, whether you like it or not. I got to see the new website coming out that we get to showcase to all of our Delight people. So it looked really good. You know, so I'm actually really excited. I thought it looked really cool. And I know that's a big thing that you've been happy about.
So not just that, Joe, but we also have all of the marketing being finished. For real, I have banners, I have stands, I have handouts, I have business cards, I have tablecloths. You haven't even seen the tablecloth.
Oh, I'm very excited about the tablecloths.
I have to be honest, this tablecloth is baller. I've never felt convicted to be like, yes, I'm excited about a tablecloth, but this is one where I'm like, oh my god, nobody eat on it, it's so clean.
That's how you know it's another peg in the bracket. Like you got a professional tablecloth now.
I'm making it. We're gonna get there.
No more party.
No more Party City. No more plastic ones. So today we're actually gonna have a really fun conversation. We have a great guest today. We have Archie. The Archie Cares, or Archie I want to make sure I say his right name, Messersmith. And if I said it wrong, Archie, don't worry. You can make fun of me when you get on. All right. I appreciate the lack of. Actually, yeah, please do. But Archie has, Joe, you know when you're talking to people and you're like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, I'm fine. It's kind of annoying and
like
stuff.
The human, like almost response to waving. It's just like, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine.
Yeah. So Archie's determined to change that. He has done amazing thing. He's the shut up, Joe.
Sound like you're fun.
I'm from London today. He is the proud owner of Archie Cares, LLC, and he is determined to give a voice to the voiceless. He's battled drug addiction, clinical depression for more than a decade, and is a recovering Southern Baptist minister who is also grateful because he survived suicide attempts. He has a mission to change the way that we greet each other, as he believes we lie dozens of times every day when people ask, "How are you doing? How are you today?" He's done being polite with that bullshit, and he's moving on. That we continually share with each other and want folks to start actually talking about how they feel. I believe passionately that until we give ourselves permission to speak openly, candidly about our actual feelings and provide space for others to reply with something other than "I'm fine," real connection and community cannot be built. With a master's in college and student personal administration, he spends most of his time on Zoom speaking about mental health best practices and answering the questions, will things ever be normal again? Well, Joe, I hope you're ready for this, because guess what? We have Mr. Archie to teach us how we should be greeting people. Hello, Archie. How are you, sir?
Well, I have no idea where I am. I don't know what is going on with this experience. I was laughing my ass off when he was just like moving his lips, because I could see the panic coming over your face, and it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. I literally texted my husband. I was like, I have no idea what's happening right now, but I'll be in this podcast or this interview for the next hour. Wish me luck.
Oh my God. So he did that. And the worst part is I could hear him breathing. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, all I can hear is like, I'm like, if that's Archie breathing in the back. And then I look and you were muted and he's not. I'm like, okay, so it's Joe breathing, or am I just that loud of a mouth breather now? I had no idea what was about to happen, and Joe had to play with me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, say hello, and welcome Mr. Archie. All right, Messersmith.
Yeah, you got half of it right. So listen now. When the gays finally could get married, because we couldn't get married for a long time, right? They're like, just go have butt sex off on your own. Don't get married. Like, that was what they were. The gays. The gays could finally get married. We go hyphenate. We're going to keep both the names. So it's Archie Messersmith Bunting. We have the longest name known to man. We get on flights and they're like, "Sir, can I see your ID?" And I'm like, "It's my name, damn it. Get me on the plane." But Archie Messersmith Bunting. There we go.
I love it. Wow. I am not going to be able to say all that and remember it. So you're going to be Archie Cares for me. Is that, or Archie the feeling guy?
Well, Archie Cares is fine. Archie Cares is fine. I also want to know, am I the first person to say butt sex on your show? Has it been said before?
I think so. I think you're number one.
Actually, yes. You are. Like, congrats, buddy. Like, we've got a lot of weird ones. If you haven't guessed, we go off on tangents. Joe and I are like, yeah. All right. So fuck Joe, before we forget, is because we talked before and I asked how you were doing. And I love that your intro is like not about like saying hi and I'm fine. Mm-hmm. You walk in and the first thing you said to me, first words I ever get out of Archie is, "I stepped in shit." And I'm sitting here going, what? This is awesome. This guy's going to go. Oh, my God. I like to talk about butt sex. Yes, Fernando, we know you do.
I just wish I could see Fernando's face.
Oh, my gosh. He is not in the background. I can send him the link. But fuck Joe is what our usual thing is, we say. It's where we blame Joe for our life problems that we know we need to fix in ourselves. He takes it for one day for everybody, and then you have to build yourself back up. Like, you only get a day with it. So blame Joe, and then get back on with your life and build yourself up. That's why we have...
Oh, I thought this was an opportunity to sleep with Joe. I also texted my husband, "Hey, there's this really hot guy on the show with this, if something happens, I'll let you know."
How do you get all the guests to call you the hot one, Joe? Like, I do nothing. Like, I'm sitting here like talking and they're like, "Hey, Joe, how you doing?" Like, we got authors on that are like, love him. They send me a book with an autograph. They send Joe like personal like cell phone numbers and text messages.
Yeah. I'm sending Joe my underwear signed later. Let me tell you what it is. It's honestly, if the t-shirt was a little tighter, Brandon, I probably would have a hard on. So
just tuck it in the back of me.
Yeah.
Just pull it real
There you go.
tight.
There you go.
How's that?
Just do one of these. Just hold it like this. Like
Oh, Joe, yes. You keep pulling this. It's the shirt. It's the shirt. It really is the shirt. So just get a little more form fitting. And then we can talk about some more butt sex. Okay, why am I here? What are we doing?
So first thing we're here to talk about is mental health.
Okay, great.
Which we could see we're all off on that one. Like, you have done some pretty cool things. Let me bring your website in to show everybody right off the bat. Guys, Archie, there you are. The funny thing is, right before I brought you in, we were testing the sound to figure out Brandon doesn't know how his computer works sometimes. But I had this up, and when you came back, this was all that was there. I'm like, I wonder how he feels looking at himself right now. Like, in my head, I thought that. Archie has been on so many things, and this is where I jumped to right away. I started reading these, and I was like, I've got questions galore. It's okay to not be okay. I could think of the Marshmallow song. But the things I caught that I loved was like the losing anxiety in 20 seconds. I want to talk about that to college stuff and
that's a good
how
title.
you are.
That was a great title.
I mean, let's be clear. If you're, let's just like picture yourself in college or high school, whichever one, for those of you who didn't go to college, and like you have to go hear this like boring addiction speaker, but the program is called Claws, Coke in College. You're like, fuck yeah, I'll go to that. Like, come on.
Fuck yeah.
Come
in
on.
my head, I just read Claws, Adderall in college.
Well, you know,
Same thing.
Same thing.
See, if you did it ABC, Adderall blunts in college, you know? So benefits of mental health programming, you are literally 100% in line with what we love to talk about here. And I am so glad you're here today. So let's start right at the beginning and go, how do I, like when Joe effed with me and I was not able to know if his sound worked or not. You saw that panic on my face. Within 20 seconds, how do I reset myself?
Yep. So I think that's a fabulous question. So I think it's important to really understand the science of feelings. I'm going to get kind of nerdy for a second, but you know, maybe it'll make me hotter. A feeling is a feeling is a feeling is a feeling. And I didn't know that. Thanks, Jake. I didn't know that until much later in life. I really was controlled by feelings. Growing up gay in the South, I think we've all figured out I'm gay by now. Growing up gay in the South, when I did, you had no idea, Brandon, super gay. No. It wasn't okay to be gay at all. The church told me I was going to hell constantly. So, I mean, there's just a lot there. So you give a kid like that ecstasy and I'm like, okay, let's go. I mean, like it covers up all the pain. Right. And so there was all these feelings I didn't know what to do with, but let me just really like break it down super simple. So have you ever had, I'm sure Joe has, but Brandon, has anybody ever thrown you a surprise birthday party? Please say yes. Please say yes.
I'm going to say yes because it's true, but I don't want to tell you how bad it was. Nobody showed up.
Okay, that's a different episode. This is not a therapy session. Okay. When you're, this wouldn't work for you because no one was there. But for those of you that have been to a surprise birthday party and people yell, surprise, that's some scary shit. I mean, like the fear inside kicks in. Okay. If I were to go outside late at night and a cat goes, wah, the fear inside is the exact same. Like fear is fear. It's not, but we have assigned this meaning of good fear to the birthday party and like bad fear to the cat at night. So when you have an emotion, when you have an emotion or you have a feeling, all you have to do is just notice it. Just notice it. Just notice it and just go, okay. And then you can either choose to give into it. So Brandon, you could have chosen to be like, what the fuck is going on? What's this working? Like you make that choice. Or you're just like, well, I'm just going to sit in this because I can't do anything else about it. Or you can take an action step. So we have so much control over what comes after the feeling. And if we would just like lean into that a little bit, our lives would be a lot more calm.
I feel like if we weren't live, that would have been the response. Actually, he would have chose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. Feelings are something that, all right, so when you're a young kid, and like you said, you were dealing with like the church telling you you're going to hell.
Yep.
So just so you have a heads up, I'm a former youth pastor, and I actually left the church for multiple reasons, but one of them was I had a lot of friends that I became friends with that who were gay. And the one day, a pastor of a church I was going to, I watched him just completely treat this individual who was a good friend of mine like he was second nature human. Like he was like, you're below me, you're not worth me. And it hit me in a way that I'm like, yep, nope, I can't do this. Like I needed something more. When you're a young kid, though, those feelings are overwhelming. They can like totally, it makes you want to do coke in college. Like, what was that thing that, like, how did you learn to balance your feelings? Or did you get angry at one point, and how did you let it out?
Wow, that's a phenomenal question. And I think this may be the first time I'm going to give a truly honest answer because I know that I can on this show. So you're getting like all the honesty tonight.
I'm just going to go through your website and start planning to get everything about you. Joe gets your underwear. I get the truth. You two don't even, I hope your husband's ready.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. So I'm also a minister, and I think the glorious thing about the Southern Baptist Church is that they can't unminister somebody. I love it. So I'll always be a minister. I love it. And you know this, like when having been a youth minister, I was a music and a youth minister. Like my youth ministers, idolized is a horrible word if we're talking about the church, but like I idolized them. Like these were the guys that I wanted to be just like them. Like I was that kid that I was in the band, so I was a band geek, but like I would leave band practice and I would go to church. I would go hang out with my ministers, right? But then these are the people that are saying you're going to go to hell. Like these are the people that are teaching that. And so they would tell us, I can't tell you how many youth trips I walked to the cross and I prayed for that, because they tell you if you just pray hard enough, it will go away. And so I did all that, and it wasn't working. And so I became addicted to masturbation. I just jacked off all the time because it's the only thing that I could find that made me feel a little better. But then there's such shame attached to that because you're not supposed to be doing that. So it's like I was in this like shame wheel. I've never said that live before. Like I was in this shame wheel of like, I can't make this thing go away, but like the thing that I'm trying to do to make it go away is also a sin. So like, I'm just fucked, like in every aspect of the word. And so I say often, are you surprised that I became a drug addict? Are you surprised? Like it made all that go away. So the anger at the church came much later in life after they invited me to leave. When the message got out, the rumor started spreading that I was a gay. The day they asked me to go, he actually said to me, I don't need to know if this is true or not. You just can't be here. And I was like, oh, okay. And clearly that's in the Bible. Like, let me find that verse again. Oh, right. It's not. But then just exit stage left. So yeah, the anger at the church came later.
Now with that though, like, all right, I have a side question. What instrument did you play?
Saxophone. I was a reed sucker. Don't judge.
Bill Clinton was, so go ahead, do your thing. Great. Okay.
Awesome.
I didn't know who BB King was a jazz. Oh, that's funny. So with that though, that's a big breaking thing. And drugs, like you said, you were looking for that appreciation. I thank you for your vulnerability and being so honest on here. For real. That's a very hard thing. So thank you for that. Yeah. With that though, you went from wanting the love of the church, wanting all these other things, you get into drugs and the masturbation, as you said, and it's all because of who you were, didn't feel loved. What was that thing that got you to finally just be like, I'm done with all this shit, I'm going to love Archie? How did you break that, and what was that first step you took to believing in yourself?
Well, you just skipped like 20 years in 1 second. So it wasn't quite that simple. I became a really successful IV drug user. Okay, Okay, clarinet section. 3 suckers for the win.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. That comment was perfect.
I mean, it was there that I learned to be a really good gay. In the saxophone section, I learned to suck with the best of them. I became a really, really successful IV drug user, and you know, I don't know if y'all know this, but once you start shooting up, life is probably not going to go well for you. Like there's no upside to shooting up to be serious there. But I overdosed. I woke up in ICU having been intubated. I had to be resuscitated. I was not on this planet for a second. I could not get my life together. I am a suicide attempt survivor because life just hurt way too bad. And then for me, I met a guy, not in the sexual kind of way. I met a guy in a 12-step program who this man saved my life. I mean, he saved my life, and he showed me what unconditional love looked like. He's heterosexual, he is heterosexual. And for me, I was very scared of men. I was super scared of men. Like, and I thought that, like, if I slept with you, that you would like me. So I had a very distorted view of like how to have a relationship with a male. And this man just like poured his life into me. And over the next several years, I finally stopped hurting Archie and learned to love myself.
I think that's a phenomenal way of saying that. I love that. Like, Archie, for real, I'm glad you're here because suicide isn't talked about. Like, we're going to talk about mental health, but like suicide is not talked about the way it should be. Yep. What am I? I'm a hetero flexible.
I feel like I need to meet this person. Who is this person?
Fernando's right there.
Yeah,
Fernando's the one who actually set up the interview with us. So he already has your email, and Jessica's already said she's going to email you like 12 times. By the end of this, you and I are going to be best friends, and apparently you have a date with Fernando, and your husband has a date with you and
Let's do
Joe.
It.
And
come on,
like, gosh,
and
like, this is going everywhere.
If you wear a tighter shirt, you can come too. Okay. Okay.
Can I just come?
I like how the minion on the back is looking at you so seriously now that you turned it.
Okay, I love the fact that he considered taking his shirt off, and I was like, "This is not happening. This is actually what is happening right now."
Oh, you're on the right podcast for almost anything to happen.
Yeah, like I have no fears, and I'm like the boss. So like people are like, "Oh, Brandon, hey, go do this," and I'm like, "Okay." And I just start taking clothes off, and they're like, my mom hates going in public because you never know when I'm going to be naked. Like, she's like, why? You're 38. Not everybody needs to see your butt. Yes.
When are we hanging out in person? That's what, with the tablecloth. I want to hang out in person with the tablecloths.
Wait, where do you live that Jessica Dugas could actually tell you at the breakthrough show that you should be skipping and going skating? I didn't hear that earlier because I had the bad internet.
I don't know. I live in Virginia. I don't know. Where is skating happening?
So I don't. Jessica's in. That's really funny because Jessica is in Alabama. So or Arkansas. I do that wrong all the time. I say Alabama.
They're both backwards. It's fine. They're backwards. It's fine.
Yeah. If you don't give him an award for best guest of the year, the best guest of the year that doesn't exist, then you're fired. I have a date with Brian. We got me a date, and he hugs really well. I love it.
He hugs really well.
I love hugs. I totally we are so off track. I love this.
What's funny is that we were talking about suicide, and now we're taking our clothes off and putting on tablecloths. But in sincerity, that's the way it should be. Like, we have put, since I've already said the word masturbation, here's what I believe. We put suicide
and butt sex.
And butt sex, yes. We put suicide in the same box as masturbation. We do. There's so much shame around both things. Having suicidal thoughts is completely normal. I don't know what the fuck normal is anymore, but like a human being, the likelihood of a human being experiencing some form of suicidal ideation in their life is completely normal. We're human beings. And like, I think some people think that like once suicidal ideation begins, like there's a light switch that's flipped and like this person will end up dying by suicide. That is not the case. So, but until we take suicide out of the shame box and like the thoughts of dying by suicide out of the shame box, we're never going to have a conversation. And so I'm like, I'm going to talk about it. And if I make you uncomfortable, then let's talk about why you're uncomfortable. What is it about the conversation that makes you uncomfortable? Because it is happening in the next 24 hours. Another 140 Americans are going to die by suicide. 140. So fuck your uncomfortableness and let's have a conversation.
Let's go. I love you. He is my best friend now. Go.
Well, what I find really ironic about that and bringing in the suicide, right, is so people, like, we all know we're going to die sometime, right? And people talk about that so comfortably. And suicide is just another form of death. It's in the end, it's the same thing. You're dead, you're dead. But that gets a whole different bias than just a normal death. And in a lot of like cultures in history, suicide was an honor. Like it was a good thing. It wasn't a bad thing. It was a warrior code. And then just over the years, it's just been pushed further and further into that kind of taboo section of life.
Yeah, well, you're 100% right. And listen, I'm not glamorizing suicide. That's not what we're doing here today.
Oh, no, I know.
No, I know you're not either. I know you're not either. But it's because of the nomenclature. So if you're listening, you're like, what is this guy talking about? Please don't ever say the words committed suicide ever again. That is completely inappropriate, but it's what we've all learned. So, and you're like, why, Archie? I'll tell you. So committed suicide comes from a time when it was literally illegal to take your own life. It was literally illegal. So you were committing a crime. So you don't commit cancer. You don't commit a car wreck. You die from cancer. You die in a car wreck. You die from suicide. You commit a crime. So a person dies by suicide. And so I also like to say those humans that they did die by suicide, also just like to say transition. They just transitioned. Like it just is, especially because you never know who you're talking to. I mean, the likelihood of a human being in your presence that has been directly impacted by suicide is great. And so to say words like committed suicide to a mother of someone who their son has transitioned from this world, that's not something I want to do. But even like to Joe's point, like even things like that, we just don't talk about because it makes people uncomfortable. Fuck you. Like I got no time for you. Let's have a real conversation or go talk to somebody else. Like I can't anymore.
I agree 100%. With suicide on the rise, it's going to younger generations because we're passing it off so much. Yeah. With this morning, we had on our morning show, we were talking about veteran suicide. 22 veterans commit suicide a day. That's astronomical numbers to think about this. Then when you turn around and you start adding in, like my niece is 9. Okay. Her being a 9-year-old and already saying I'm worthless, I'm a piece of crap, people don't like me and all that at 9, I don't remember feeling the way she did until later in life. And I'm sitting there going, well, why do you think that? What's making you do that? And my sister freaks out. It's like, I need to get medicines. I need to do this. And then you have the opposite side, my parents, her grandparents. So my whole company is built off my mental illness of being bipolar. It's built off of being someone who has something that most people say to, and I say, yeah, let's look at what I really do. Let's look at me, not my disease. And that's the problem I think a lot of people have. You have my dad, who I'm doing a speech about being bipolar in Vegas next week. And literally I have my dad going, yeah, but I don't think you want to do that in front of all these people. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because people are going to look down on you. I go, then good.
Well,
let them
look
look down.
Is normally higher.
Walk
right?
away.
That's what you should have told him.
And tell him you're wearing a tablecloth. If he knows you're wearing a tablecloth, it will all be better. Just the tablecloth.
Like a toga.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I'm going to send pictures just to you, Archie. Your husband's going to be like, who is this and why does the I and the delight line up so perfectly? But no, in all seriousness, it is something that when you talk about depression, anxiety, bipolar, not feeling like yourself, people want you to put you in the back so they feel better about themselves. And for me, I agree with that, Archie, 100%. You need to stop being in the way of people and get the fuck out of my way when I'm the one that's dealing with the issue and want to be able to work with it and make people better. So I am not reading that one out loud, Fernando. Sorry, Fernando likes to. I will go to Jessica's. Jessica says, when I was 12 years old, I was 12 when I first thought about suicide and was 16 when I first attempted. I think often about it. The numbers are so high of success. How many are thinking about it? So here's
really
the
good
thing.
point.
I actually, Archie, you were vulnerable. Jessica's vulnerable. Joe, I'm going to be vulnerable, and I know you have this as well. But Archie, do you have the suicide tattoo, the semicolon?
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, right. How do you do it? I can't do it. There you go.
There
Wait. I can't do it right there. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
There we go.
I love it. I love it.
I love that. All right, talk to me about that. That is a very big thing for Joe and I. We talk to people about it. We tell them about it. They're like, well, why? And it's because of the fact it means so much. You're able, like, if I saw that on your arm, you and I's friendship right away, we're going to talk. It's one of those things. When you're going through these things, you go to a lot of places. You've dealt with, like, the church, you've dealt with people being homophobic and all that, and you've had this drug problem. How do you keep Archie every fucking day going up, waking up and saying, guess what, guys, I'm going to be the best Archie I can be today?
That's a phenomenal question. And it's a choice. It's a choice. And, you know, I also, so my diagnosis is major depressive disorder. They, for a while, believed that I was borderline. I had, borderline on the schizophrenia spectrum. And it's still true that I do hear voices in my head, and people are like, everyone hear voices in their head. I'm like, oh, I don't know if you hear voices that you name and you talk back to, but whatever. And if you do, great, come on. But you know, I didn't actually start getting better until my second rehab. It took me 2 rounds, but my second one, when I finally started talking about the fact that, like, I hear voices in my head. And here's the thing, I was like a grown ass man at this point, but I thought that if I said that out loud, you were going to put me in a way. You were going, because that's what the movies do. The movies lock you up and put you away. I also never really talked about the fact that I once attempted suicide. Because I was scared of what stigma was going to come. Now I talk about it all the time, but you know, once upon a time I was terrified. So I have to be. I have learned that I have to guard my time. Like I can't do. I love this conversation, but like I can't do like 12 of these a day. You know, like I can't. You know, I am firmly in the helper lane, which I know you are as well. And what people don't realize is that we have to take care of ourselves. And so I just sort of had, in the past, like 2 weeks or so, had a mind shift with self-care. You know, people always say like self-care isn't selfish. That to me began to sound like a defense mechanism. So now I say self-care is selfless. Self-care is selfless. It is the most selfless thing that you can do, because if you're not taking care of yourself, there's nothing to give. So screw the isn't selfish. It is selfless. And so now I take a nap. I drink a Coke. Don't judge. I eat candy. You know.
It's that type of Coke you were talking about? Man, I was way off on that one.
Yes, I learned to take, and I talk about the fact when I'm sad. I don't understand why in America we have decided that sad is bad, or even better, people say depressed, and I'm like, are you really depressed? Are you really depressed? Or are you sad? Can we just use the words that are correct? So when I'm sad, I talk about it and I say, I'm really sad, or I am hurt. And I process my feelings. That's the way that I'm able to show up and be this big personality all the time, by believing and leaning into the fact that self-care is selfless.
I love that. With everything you're doing, Jessica Dugas made a really fun comment about how she once attempted suicide, but now, isn't it ironic? I went from attempting suicide to now I won't even get a tattoo. But I do like that Fernando jumped in too, saying he doesn't have one and he would get one. So now get this. You ready? Let's get one together. That would be cool. We'll talk about it on the Project Joy. How sad get me. I like it because honestly, guys, when you get it, there's many different versions. I've seen so many different versions of it. Find the one that's you, and it gives you your story. And the thing that I like best about it is the main reason is you didn't put a period on your life. You still have a story to tell. Archie, let me jump back on to, I really do want to know about, like, you have on your website, it says one more, just one more. choices can seem so insignificant in the day-to-day world, but over time they can make a real impact on your life. Can you elaborate on this and how people don't realize like those little decisions make huge outcomes for you?
Yeah. So the crux of that program is like an addiction program for corporate America, because obviously the corporate people aren't going to pay for a program called Claus Coke in college. But what I really learned is, whatever your thing is, whether it's, let's just think about a bag of chips. Okay, when you open a bag of chips, especially if it's a chip that you like, you eat Doritos. A few chips. Okay, Doritos, great. Okay, you eat a few chips, and then you're like, I'll just have another one. You're like, oh, I'll have another one. It's the same thing with a bag of M&Ms. It's the same thing. We're feeding something. There's something that we are feeding, and when you stop and think about like, what is it? This thing that I'm feeding. I'm going to say something so inappropriate, but when I was first trying to get sober, I can't believe I was saying this out loud, and I was trying. Because I was also a crystal meth addict, and crystal meth is very tied to sex, like very, very tied to sex. And I remember my sponsor saying, "There's not a dildo in the world big enough to fill the void you have inside." And I was like, "Huh." Well, that was a lot, but also so true that like I was trying to like literally and figuratively, metaphorically, trying to fill this desire, this need I had inside that was only going to come when Archie learned to love himself. And I was that guy that like wouldn't look in the mirror when I was brushing my teeth because I didn't want to see that person. And today I firmly believe that the person staring back at me is the most important person in the world. Like it is the most important person. And so with the choices that we make, even when you think, just one more, I'll just have one more. Why do you need quotation marks? Why do you need an entire bag of M&Ms? What is it? Now, if you're like, Archie, fuck off, I'm going to eat my M&Ms. Okay, eat your M&Ms. But if you're eating them because you're covering up or you're trying to you're literally feeding your feelings, why don't you pause, eat half that bag of M&Ms and then listen to your feelings? Why don't we try that? So it's the encouragement to like lean in and listen as opposed to just piling one more on top.
I like that.
I mean, I like the whole. It's my turn, Brandon. Sorry, too bad. I like the whole lean in thing with the feelings because, like, fear is a man or female created thing, right? Like, we do that. We create that in our heads. So, like, leaning in and remembering, like, okay, I'm scared. Like, say you're going up a roller coaster. Okay, I don't like going up, but I like the rest of the roller coaster. Like, remembering and living in that moment real quick, I think helps a lot. And I think it helps a lot with anger, too. And I used to do that to friends when we get in arguments. I said, what are you even angry about? And in 5 minutes, they couldn't answer it. They were just mad. And I'm like, okay, so stop being angry. You can't remember. And when you take a second to acknowledge your feelings, own your shit, as I like to say, and some other people like to say, and take responsibility for your feelings, it makes it a little easier to calm down, to bring that anxiety level down, whatever it may be. So I really like the whole lean in thing a lot. I think it's really relatable for a lot of people.
Yeah, and to take that one step further, so we're calling you fuck Joe. Why is the shit even there? Like if we're like owning our shit, right. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, why is it there? And then when we stop, like the reason I had shit on myself because there was shit outside my office. Like that's why the shit was there. But like, why is our emotional shit there? What is it? And we don't like doing that. It's uncomfortable. And we spend a lot of our life trying to avoid being uncomfortable. And I encourage anyone that's listening, get comfortable with that. Get comfortable with just a little bit. And for me, life began to change.
See, that reminds me of David Goggins, Brandon. He said, get very fucking comfortable being fucking uncomfortable. And it's true. Mm-hmm. Get a little bit more uncomfortable, and that's how you grow.
I'm going to have to change the name of this episode. Instead of being an H-up name, I'm going to have to be like, fuck, just for this episode. Yeah, this one's just going to be the
just fuck.
Like, just fuck. Yep, that's how I
get them to say it more.
Brian Tracy made a good point here, and it goes along with what we're saying. He says, everyone talks about self-care and making yourself happy. How the fuck are you supposed to know how to do that when you've spent your entire life trying to make everyone else happy? I want to clarify something really quick. So this is not putting Brian out there. This is for everybody. being that alone and quiet is difficult for a lot of people. And if you have a job where you spend hours upon hours alone and then days and weeks traveling for work, it makes it very difficult to be able to self-love because you spend so much time alone hearing that negative thing. And I know his job has him travel a lot. So how do you do that, being a person who's alone a lot on top of already feeling like all you do is give of yourself to everybody?
Yeah, well, so I think what's interesting about his question and about to kind of tag on to your, I think that, I mean, okay, I'm glad that we're talking about self-care more, but can we actually talk about what self-care is? Like, self-care isn't just like boozy brunch. Like that's not the definition of self-care, in my opinion, but I think I'm also right. Self-care is truly self-love. Like, what are you doing to love yourself? And, I mean, I relate to Brian a lot, where I don't even know him, but I relate to that sentence that, I spent so much of my life people pleasing that learning how to take care of Archie was foreign. And I remember a therapist once, I'm also going to be honest about this. Y'all, I don't meditate. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, it's just, okay. So they're like, sit in a dark room. Okay, I did. Get really relaxed. I did. I almost shit my pants. Like, I got so relaxed that I almost like pooped on myself, and I was like, I don't think this is meditation. So I don't try that anymore. What I do though is, especially when life starts to get busy, I just sit and I just let the thoughts run. Because what I found for Archie is that it's not the thoughts running that is exhausting. It's the fighting to stop the thoughts from running. So just sit for like 5 minutes, and whatever comes in, just let it come in. If you're like, okay, that was weird. Okay, great. But like, it's the trying to fight your brain that was exhausting for me. So I just don't do it anymore. So I had to find things for me that were self-care, and they don't teach that in any book. They literally teach you to meditate. And I'm like, I'm gonna get off that train. So sometimes it's about like looking at what the therapists and the scientists say can be helpful, and then figuring out, how will this work for Brandon? How will this work for Brian? How will this work for Joe? Like, what does this look like? And then doing that.
So going along with that, Joe, I'll let me get one, and then you can have it. You know how I am. So I can't. I hear the breathing. Okay. So
I honestly did that as a joke, knowing you like thought I was joking. If I got you twice, I would have probably peed my pants on air. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, see, now I might actually. Never mind. But Brian says he does understand it. You just described him. Jessica Dugas is saying boozy brunch can be. Well, we're not saying it's.
Oh,
not.
yes, it can be.
It's not. It's
Listen, Jessica, do not come for me. I will pop off my fingernails and come right back. Okay, it can be, but like it is. But my point is, it has become like this thing that like this is this. It absolutely can be, but if you're defaulting and that's it, spend some time with yourself too. I love you, Jessica.
Yeah. So with that though, it's sometimes self-love is something as simple. Like for me, I can tell you right now, sometimes self-love is I brushed my teeth at night.
Yep.
Or I woke up and I actually got my workout, my meditation, because I'm ADHD. The H started because I'm so hyper. I was like, oh, I should have a show about me being hyper and name every episode with an H. And then it turned into health, hemp, and happiness. But like, I'm the H of ADHD. And for me, it's not being able to, I get so distracted by so many things I have to do for work, for life, for people, just in general, that for me, I turn around and I'm like, oh, I didn't brush my teeth today. Oh, I haven't showered in 4 days. Oh, I haven't da-da-da-da-da. Self-care for me sometimes is literally shaving my head, brushing my beard, and brushing my teeth. Yep. And it makes me feel human again, and I can get back to being me. So knowing what yours is something you should like find it for you. And that's just my own opinion on that's how self-love. This weekend, I literally my parents were out of town. I moved back in with my parents because I win. 38. Woohoo! But I literally, like, they're on vacation, and I turned around and had a fire by myself in their backyard at the fire pit. I sat there and I cleaned the house the way I like it clean, because they are such dirty people to me. But like I cleaned, I did things that made me like feel good about myself, and being alone is not something I'm good at. Like, I'm just not good at being alone. I get very negative self-talk when I'm alone. I'm like, Brandon, why did you do that? Oh, you should have asked Archie this. Oh, Fernando said Brandon's greedy. Why does Fernando think Brandon's greedy? I hope he's talking about his boyfriend, not me. Like, all these type of things go through my head. And I'm somebody who, when I get alone, I need to learn to self-love. And for me, that came as being alone for a weekend. Doing other things that I won't say on air, and being able to enjoy a fire completely by myself and understand that that was a moment for me to love myself. And I think that people don't know how hard that is for them to do. And for me to do it, I think anybody can do it. I invited Joe, but he told me he's too good for me. So from there, it's building your best use. Now, Archie, oh my gosh, there's a ton of comments all of a sudden. Archie, we are best friends. Don't let Brandon try to throw our new relationship under a bus. So, Archie, can you give me a couple examples of what Archie does for self-care and love?
Yep. Well, I think you perfectly explained it. I mean, honestly, friends, taking a shower is self-care, like literally taking care of yourself. And we've made it out to be this huge, yes, it is. Okay. I don't know if the onesies are for you or for the, I'm not, if they're Brandon. Okay, great. Okay. I got one for Disney. It's okay. It's like the little things, but also like self-care is also positive self-talk. And I know you mentioned this before, and I think that this is hugely important for people to hear. I didn't realize what a negative self-talker I was until I started working with a guy. We were working on one of my programs, and he mentioned, he was like, you negative self-talk a lot. Okay, this was like 5 months ago. And I was like, excuse me? I'm a mental health speaker? What are you talking about? But like, I was saying things like, I'm drowning at work. Okay, that's impossible because I don't work at a swimming pool. So like, I literally can't be drowning at work. But I would tell myself that over and over and over again. So I think a lot of times we imagine, or we decide that like negative self-talk means we're like, fuck my life. Okay, that is negative self-talk. But we say things to ourselves on the regular that your brain begins to believe. And again, to get a little nerdy for you for a second, there's this part of your brain called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system, think of your brain like a Google search engine. The reticular activating system, which is right back here, its job is to filter out the things that you don't need. So if you tell yourself, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job, your brain literally is finding proof of that in your life. Your brain is doing what you tell it to do. You've told your brain you hate your job. So your brain is proving that to yourself all day long. So working on a positive mindset and being gentle with our thoughts is actually helping your brain. If you don't believe me, try this for a second. Like in your room, look for all the things that are green. Like look around and like find Ninja Turtle. There you go. All things that are green. So like you're looking for green, you're looking for green, you're looking for green. But now in this experiment, how many things did you see that were red? None, because you told your brain to look for green. So your brain literally filters out everything other than green. That's the way the brain works. So there's science to this, that if you just like tap into a little bit, you can transform your life. The whole mindset, like change your mind, change your life. I used to think that was some bullshit. And then I like dug into the science, and I was like, oh, there's some science here. So I think the most basic form of self-care is speaking to yourself in a loving way.
Wow. I love that. I love that. By the way, I friend requested you, so Fernando couldn't be the only one. I did that myself.
I was like, why is he not listening to me? Oh, he's on Grindr. I mean, he's on Instagram.
I'm telling you. All right, wait. You want a funny story? I'll give you one. So I actually am. I'm straight, but my dad doesn't know that. He thinks I'm gay. He literally thinks I'm gay by sending his pastor to talk to me and that. So I am in Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, for real. That's a true story. I owned a restaurant. He sent his pastor in to talk to me about my homosexual tendencies. That's when my dad and I had to have a talk about judgment. But the funniest part is the internet. Do you know what the International Gay Games are?
Yeah. Yes, I played in them.
Yes. Oh, when?
Let's see. I was not in Ohio.
2016?
In Chicago. Mine was in Chicago.
So 2012.
How do you know this?
Because 2016, oh no, it had to be before 2012. It had to be it's 2008 because 2012 was in Paris, France, and in 2016 it was in Cleveland, Ohio. In Cleveland, Ohio, I literally was one of the people there. I had so much fun running around. I had no idea what Grindr was, and this guy walks up, hands me a card that said Grindr, and goes, "Have fun." And I go, "Oh, okay." I look at it. It's an app. I download it, and I go, "Whoa. Not my type of app, but thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate you." And I walk away. Oh my gosh, it was, yeah. So, Archie, I love what you're doing here. There's a whole conversation going on that I apparently missed in the comments. But they are all in Alaska, Alabama. Brandon is a hetero-flexible. Wait, what? I read that out loud and now I get it. Wow. But Archie, you have had a lot of cool things. What would you say to people who are really trying to build themselves up to just start that first step, to get out the door, to love themselves, to look in the mirror, however you want to phrase it, and start self-love? What would be that first thing you would recommend people do? Reach out to you, of course.
Well, Chris, no, but it really does just start with the belief. And y'all are much more muscly than I am. I'm not really a gym person. I call it the James because everyone goes to the gym, so I go to the James. I don't really know what to do, and like people are like pushing and pulling all these heavy things, and it's very intimidating. So I'm not really big on the James. But I know this to be true, that when you first start going to the James, you're not going to look like Joe overnight. Like you're not going to have those guns overnight. Like this is just factual. And so, but when Joe began pushing and pulling the things, he believed that the guns would come. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it. So when you first start, there is no gun. It's just an arm like mine. But like if I truly had the desire, and maybe not a 3-year-old, I would go to the James more regularly, and I believe that it's possible. It's the same thing with mental wellness. It's the same thing with self-care. The guns aren't going to come overnight. So you have to believe it to be true, and then the world ends up catching up if you put in the work. And the work is literally just loving yourself. Like you just have to love yourself. And if that seems impossible, then I would encourage you to talk to a professional. Because if you're sitting here thinking, I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to love myself, let somebody else guide you. Let somebody else dig into what the stuff is. There is likely some trauma from your childhood. We all have trauma from our childhood in different forms. And when you finally are in a place where you can name it and be okay, and like us, joke about it, then life begins to look a little different. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, very well said. Guys, here's Archie's YouTube page. Do yourself a favor, go hit subscribe. You can see he posts videos. He's always on here doing things. I'm on
Instagram a lot more. But yeah, YouTube is fine. Yeah.
That's fine. It was the one that came in the link to share. That's why I was like, oh, your YouTube came back that it's not found. Now I've been or your Instagram came back off your YouTube.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah, I changed Instagram to it's Archie_Cares.
Now I can't friend you. My heart stopped.
I know. I'm getting sweaty because I just got called out on a live TV show. Oh my gosh!
I didn't mean to. I was just like, crap! I was trying to be
first
nice.
It's like both of your guns making me all sweaty and get me all moist, and now I'm sweaty because you hit the wrong button and it didn't work. Oh my gosh!
But do you want people to go there or to your Instagram? Because I can add that too.
Yep.
I'm gonna be like, here's
Instagram. Yeah, it's Archie_Cares.
At Archie_Cares with an S, not a Z.
I'm not that gay. Cares. I cares.
I cares.
I was going to go with you, an adult, not a kid. That's why there's an S.
I like how he's like, I'm not that gay. He like pointed it out like really hard. Jessica Dugas catches the moist comment. I love it.
I did too.
Yeah, I caught it. I'm like, I can't listen.
I just slipped it in there. Slipped in the moist. Yeah.
You did it perfectly. And I know there's people that hate that word, but you did it great. Joe is the ultimate stud muffin and all these things. My guns are rusty. This is like the funniest episode of people's comments today. Like I'm literally like, they are on it. At least nobody's asked Joe to take his shirt off yet. Like he's ready for that at all times.
I'm waiting. I mean, I'm waiting. I may or may not have pants on. So I'm waiting. I have pants on.
I was gonna say Brandon doesn't have pants on.
Nope. Never do. I try to walk around naked all the time. I put shirts on just for you guys. So Archie, and I do. I love my onesies. I have 14 of them, Archie.
Best response ever. Best response ever to that.
I have a Care Bear onesie. I have a gorilla. I have a unicorn. I have a turkey. I have people want to buy me a squirrel one because of my ADHD. I said I'd wear it, but all we can find is the flying squirrel, and I'm okay with that. Perfect. Thank you, Brian Tracy, for finding that and putting it on there for us to make the link easier for everybody. Joe, take your shirts off. He said shirt off, not shirts. So one thing we do on the Age after our conversations is we usually go into everybody and we talk about how we want to leave our impact on the world. And Archie, you're doing some big things. How do you want to leave your impact on the world? And I'm letting you go first because I know you're not going to have any problem answering this. And then we'll go to Joe's, which I'll make easy for you. You ready? This is Joe. Be the change you want to see. Gandhi. Fuck Joe.
It's like Gandhi said fuck Joe. That's why I like the way you said that.
Really easy. I want us all to stop saying, how are you today? Please stop it. It means nothing. It is verbal diarrhea. We, especially dudes, we're like, hey, what's up, bro? Not much. How are you, bro? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, stop it. If instead, just say hi. If you don't know what to say, just say hi. But if you really care, ask somebody, how are you feeling? I believe when you say, how are you feeling? Well, you're going to get you're going to get like, why? Why do you want to know? What? Like people have to stop and think because we don't do, how are you feeling? But if you really care, say, how are you feeling? And then just listen. Now, a lot of times you're going to get, I guess I'm okay. And then I encourage you to follow up and say, but how are you really feeling? And I have never had an instance where the person then didn't just start talking and then just give the person the gift of being present and listening. But I truly, truly believe that if we would all start saying, how are you feeling? I believe we can save lives. I believe that people, when they find themselves in a really dark place, they would know that Brandon cares because Brandon asked me repeatedly about my feelings. And so when I'm hurting, I know that Brandon's the guy that I can go to, or Joe's that I could go to, or Fernando, like whoever. Just stop saying, how are you today? And say, how are you feeling? That's what I want to do.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I agree with you. Jessica says she just wants you to come visit. She's not going to ask that, but that's because she has 75 kids and she's got to keep track of all of them. Like, I don't know. Have you known this? Jessica has, hold on, let me do. She's had 2 kids just this episode. Like, it's amazing how much Jessica does. Like, being a mom of like 107, it's like, it went up again. Like, it's just amazing. But I do agree. How are you feeling? Actually being sincere. I'm going to jump with you on that and say, maybe you don't want to say, how are you feeling? Like Jessica said, I'm not going to ask that, but like, you're asking in a way that you care about someone. Ask in a way that you are open, where it opens it. Look what Archie did today. Archie came on and talked about a bunch of different things that he even said. He goes, am I the first one to say that on here? I've never said this out loud, stuff like that. Archie, you are amazing. And I want you to know how I am so grateful you are still here today. That tattoo on your arm is an inspiration for everybody that has one. And you are an example of it. So please truly know how amazing you are, because a lot of people miss that. And you were vulnerable and open. And that's what we need more of. That is where we're changing the world. And I am so grateful you were a part of this today with us. So, guys, one more time, I'm going to share Archie's link for his website. Please do not hesitate to go give him a like, a love, a follow, a subscribe, an Instagram thing. I'm going on Instagram. I'm clicking the link that I put in there as well, so I can follow him. I friend requested Archie. If you're going to change the world, you need people like that around you. You need people who are going to believe it, building up themselves. And Archie, you might be the feelings guy, but I have a feeling you and I are going to end up being friends. So
I
please
hope
know
so.
how much I appreciate you. I do too. As soon as Joe takes off his shirt for the goodbyes, we'll be able to say stuff. Joe's like, I'm not doing that, Dave. He's like, I'm going to kill you for even asking me. Fernando did ask very nicely, though. Joe needs to say his final words with no shirt on.
Yeah, I asked very nicely for $1 million from a lot of people, and it doesn't happen. So
I'm working on it still. We're almost there. We're in Vegas in 2 weeks.
no, I just ask everyone, like, hey, how are you feeling? I have $1 million. Zero success rate, but they do tell me how they're feeling.
I got in trouble for making a joke out of this, Archie. I apologize. I hope you're texting your husband. You had a whole bunch of fun on the show, and you didn't you're like sitting there. He's like, oh, Brandon didn't pay attention while he's at friend requesting me. I'm going to text my husband right now and be like, how you doing, big boy?
Okay, listen, we got a toddler. It's almost bedtime. He's like, what's going on? There's so much laughter. Are you really on a show? Yes, I'm really on a show. So, yes.
You have a 3-year-old. I love that. Boy or girl?
Boy, his name is Cade, Kade.
I like that.
Oh, I like the K. K-A-D. I like it. K-A-D-E. I like that. Very cool. Very cool. Archie, I want to let everybody know one more time. Go follow him. Go give a subscribe. Go do what, like, guys, building your mental health starts with building yourself and listening to the people that have changed their lives. Archie's done that and lived a great life of testimony. So please do us all a favor and show him that love. Show him that support. Archie, I'm emailing you the minute the show's over, or Instagramming you. I've already got my Facebook friend request. Go have a wonderful time with your husband and your son. I wish you the best, and thank you for being here. Guys, this was the H, an honest conversation about health, hemp, and happiness. We are so grateful you all came today. Spread love, spread positivity. Thanks, guys.